Commander Geo Park stood at the wide window of the Earth Defense Fleet headquarters. The blue planet spun below, peaceful from this height. But Geo felt no peace today. His hands gripped the metal rail until his knuckles turned white. "Sir, they're ready for you in the meeting room," said Lieutenant Do-Yim Kim. The young weapons officer's voice trembled slightly. Geo nodded and turned away from the view. "How bad is it?" "Bad, sir. Very bad." The hallway to the meeting room seemed longer than usual. Officers and staff moved quickly, their faces tight with worry. News traveled fast on a space station, even news as classified as this. The doors to the meeting room slid open. Inside, 12 grim-faced leaders sat around a large table. Military officials in crisp uniforms. Scientists with dark circles under their eyes. Government representatives trying to look calm and failing. "Commander Park," said Admiral Chunho Choi. "Thank you for coming quickly." Geo took his seat. "I came as soon as I got your message. Is it true?" "The Galactic Council has voted." The Admiral nodded and touched a control panel. A large holographic display appeared above the table. It showed an official document, marked with the seals of all 24 member species of the Galactic Council. "The vote was unanimous," said the Admiral. "Humanity has been declared a dangerous aberration and is to be contained within the Sol system, effective immediately." Geo read the document, his stomach turning to ice with each line. Asterisk by authority of the Galactic Council, representing all civilized species. Asterisk. Asterisk. Human biological and psychological predisposition toward violence. Asterisk. Asterisk. Unpredictable advancement rate in weapons technologies. Asterisk. Asterisk. Prevention of destabilizing influence on galactic peace. Asterisk. Asterisk. All human ships beyond Sol system to be impounded. Asterisk. Asterisk. All trade routes severed. Asterisk. Asterisk. Quarantine field to be established within 30 standard days. Asterisk. Asterisk. Violation of containment will result in immediate neutralization. Asterisk. "They can't do this," said Do-Yun, who stood behind Geo's chair. "We've done nothing wrong." "Apparently, they can," Geo replied, his voice steady despite the anger building inside him. "And they have." "But why now?" asked Dr. Hannah Moon, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "We've been part of the Council for 5 years. Our colonies are small. Our military presence is minimal. What changed?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew the answer, but no one wanted to say it aloud. Finally, a voice spoke from the doorway. "I changed things." All heads turned. Dr. Subin Lee stood there, her slim frame leaning against the doorway as if for support. Her long black hair was pulled back into a messy ponytail, and her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Dr. Lee," said Admiral Choi, "please join us." Subin walked to the table and remained standing. "My quantum entanglement communication system. That's why they're doing this. That's the real reason." Geo had met Subin only once before, at a military science conference. Her breakthrough in quantum physics had made instant communication across vast distances possible. No more waiting years for messages to travel between star systems. It was humanity's greatest technological achievement since faster-than-light travel. "The official decree doesn't mention your discovery," said a government representative. Subin laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Of course not. They call us violent and unpredictable because they can't admit they're afraid of our minds." She tapped the holographic display, zooming in on one section. "Look here. They cite our rapid technological advancement as a concern." Translation: "We solved a problem in 10 years that took the Moravians 300 years to give up on. They declared quantum entanglement communication impossible. We just proved them wrong." Admiral Choi sighed. "Dr. Lee is correct. Our intelligence sources in the Council confirm this. The Moravians led the push for our containment. The other species followed their lead." Geo studied the faces around the room. Fear, anger, Confusion, but not surrender. Never surrender. That wasn't humanity's way. What about our colonies, he asked. Our people on Mars, Europa, Alpha Centauri. Mars and Europa are within Sol's system, so those colonies can continue, said the Admiral. But we have 73,000 colonists beyond Sol. The Council has generously given them 3 months to return home before the quarantine is complete. And if they don't want to return? Asked Do-Yun. No one answered. The terms of the decree were clear. Any human outside Sol after the deadline would be considered in violation of the containment order. We should fight, said General Minyun, commanding officer of Earth's Marine Corps. We have ships. We have weapons. And they have 1,000 times more, countered Admiral Choi. The Council races have been in space for thousands of years longer than we have. We would be crushed. So we just accept this prison. Do-Hyun's young voice cracked with emotion. Jiho studied the decree again. Something wasn't adding up. Why give us 30 days? He asked. If they truly believe we're dangerous, why not contain us immediately? Subin moved closer to the table. Because they can't. The quarantine field requires massive generators positioned at specific points around the solar system. They need time to build and place them. Dr. Lee is correct again, said the Admiral. Our intelligence suggests the technology for a system-wide containment field is new even to them. They've never deployed one at this scale before. A thoughtful silence fell over the room. Joe looked at Subin, whose brilliant mind was clearly racing behind her tired eyes. So they're using new technology to contain us because of our new technology, Jiho said slowly. Interesting. Subin caught his gaze and held it. A flash of understanding passed between them. Admiral, Jiho said, turning to Choi, I need to speak with Dr. Lee privately about a technical matter. And then I believe we should call an emergency meeting with the United Earth government. The Admiral studied him for a moment, then nodded. Make it quick. The President is expecting our assessment in 2 hours. An hour later, Jiho and Subin stood before the full United Earth government cabinet in the underground bunker beneath New Geneva. The President, a stern woman named Mayam Kang, listened as they outlined their preliminary plan. Let me be sure I understand, President Kang said when they finished. You believe Dr. Lee's quantum entanglement technology might be able to overcome this containment field. Not immediately, said Subin, but yes, theoretically. The quarantine field is designed to block conventional matter and energy. Quantum entangled particles exist in a different relationship to space-time. How long would it take to develop this into a usable system? Asked the defense minister. Subin hesitated. 6 months, minimum. Maybe a year. We'd need resources, the best minds, complete secrecy. And in the meantime, asked the President. Jiho stepped forward. In the meantime, we comply. We bring our people home. We show the Council we accept their terms. Surrender. The word came from several voices at once. Tactical retreat, corrected Jiho. We give ourselves time. We gather our strength. We learn everything we can about this containment field and those who built it. President Kang leaned back in her chair, fingers steepled before her. And then, Jiho met her gaze steadily. And then we show the galaxy why containing humans is the worst mistake they've ever made. The cabinet room erupted in urgent discussion. Jiho moved to stand beside Subin, who looked exhausted but determined. Will it really work? He asked quietly. Can your quantum technology break through their field? She smiled for the first time that day. The Moravian said quantum entanglement communication was impossible too. I rather enjoy proving them wrong. 3 weeks later, Jiho watched from the command deck of the EDF Defender as the last human colony ship from Alpha Centauri passed through the Sol system boundary. Behind it, massive alien vessels moved into position, preparing to install the first of the quarantine field generators. All colonial evacuation ships accounted for. Sir, reported Lieutenant Do-Yun. 71,000. 342 colonists safely within Sol system boundaries. And the other 2,000? Asked Jiho, though he already knew the answer. Refused evacuation, sir. They've chosen to remain on Alpha Centauri. Jiho closed his eyes briefly. Those brave 2,000 knew what would happen when the quarantine activated. They had chosen to stay anyway, declaring that humans wouldn't surrender every star they had reached. On the view screen, a Moravian battleship dwarfed the Earth vessels patrolling the system edge. Its sleek, crystalline form gleamed in the distant sunlight, beautiful and terrible. Sir, said Do-Yun hesitantly, do you think they're right? Are we too violent, too unpredictable for the galactic community? Jiho considered the question. I think we're different. We evolved on a harsh world with large predators and dramatic climate shifts. We had to become adaptable, creative, sometimes aggressive to survive. He gestured at the alien ships on the screen. Many council races evolved in more stable environments. They see our adaptability as chaotic, our creativity as dangerous. They fear what they don't understand. His communication panel chimed. It was Dr. Subin Lee, calling from the newly established quantum research facility beneath the lunar surface. Commander Park, she said, her face lighting up the screen. Project Phoenix is approved. I have my team. We've begun. Already? Joe couldn't hide his surprise. That was fast. Subin's tired eyes sparkled with determination. The galaxy just put humanity in a cage, Commander. You'll find we work very quickly when someone tells us something is impossible. Jiho ended the call and turned back to the view screen. The alien ships continued their slow, methodical placement of the quarantine generators. They worked with such confidence, such certainty. They thought they had solved the human problem. They weren't ready for humanity's response. 6 months had passed since the quarantine field went up around the Sol system. The massive energy barrier shimmered like a soap bubble around the sun and its planets, visible only when ships approached it too closely. Then it would glow blue-white, a warning not to come any nearer. Commander Jiho Park stood in the observation dome of Lunar Base Alpha, watching Earth rotate slowly in the black sky. From here, everything looked normal. Beautiful blue oceans, swirling white clouds, green and brown landmasses. But nothing was normal anymore. Sir, Dr. Lee is ready for you, said Lieutenant Do-Yun Kim, who had become Jiho's right-hand man since the quarantine began. Jiho nodded. How does she seem today? Excited, sir. More excited than I've seen her in months. That was good news. Jiho followed Do-Yun through the white corridors of the base, down 3 levels, and through 4 security checkpoints. Project Phoenix was the most classified operation in human history. The final door opened, revealing a vast underground chamber carved from the lunar rock. Dozens of scientists and engineers moved between workstations. In the center of the room stood a large metal ring, 10 meters in diameter, surrounded by a complex array of equipment. Dr. Subin Lee looked up from her console and waved them over. Her face was thinner than Jiho remembered, and dark circles shadowed her eyes, but she was smiling. Commander, you're just in time, she said. We're ready for the first full-scale test. Jiho looked at the metal ring. That's it. That's our way through the quarantine field. Subin nodded proudly. The quantum displacement portal. It doesn't try to break through the field. It simply steps around it. Steps around it. Do-Yun looked confused. Let me explain in simple terms, said Subin. The quarantine field stops normal matter and energy. But quantum-entangled particles don't exist entirely in normal space. They're connected across dimensions. She pointed to a small cube on a nearby table. We've already sent quantum messages through the field to receivers we placed before the quarantine. Now we're taking the next step, sending actual matter. How does it work? Asked Jiho, studying the ring. An object enters the portal here. Subin gestured at the ring. And is converted into a quantum state. In that state, it can pass through the quarantine field because it's not fully in normal space. Then it rematerializes on the other side. Have you tested it with living things? Joe asked. Subin's smile faded slightly. Small organisms only. Plants, insects, a few mice. They all survived. But what? But we need human volunteers for the next phase. I'd volunteer myself, but President Kang has forbidden it. She says I'm too valuable to risk. Jiho looked at the portal, then back at Subin. I'll do it. Sir, Do-Yum protested. You can't risk yourself either. I'm not asking my people to do something I wouldn't do myself, said Jiho firmly. When do we start? Subin's eyes widened. You're serious. We could start tomorrow, but Commander, there are risks we don't fully understand yet. There are always risks, said Jiho. And we're running out of time. In another part of the lunar base, Taewoo Kang sat before a secure communication terminal. As Earth's former ambassador to the Galactic Council, he knew more aliens personally than any other human. Now those connections were proving invaluable. The screen flickered, and the face of a Phasian appeared. The bird-like alien had bright orange feathers and large, intelligent eyes. Taewoo, my friend, the Phasian said in a musical voice. It is good to see you again. And you, Ambassador Krell, said Taewoo. Thank you for agreeing to this private channel. Is it safe to talk? Krell's feathers rippled, the Phasian equivalent of a nod. Yes, I am using a personal communication device, not the official embassy system. The Council monitors those now. Things have gotten worse. Much worse. The Moravians have gained even more influence since Earth was contained. They claim the quarantine is for the safety of all. But many of us disagree. Taewoo leaned forward. Krell, what do you know about the threat the Moravians discovered at the galactic core? The alien's feathers stood straight up in surprise. How did you learn of this? This information is restricted to the highest levels of the Council. We have our ways, said Taewoo with a small smile. But we need to know more. What is this threat? Krell glanced around nervously, then leaned closer to the screen. The Moravians discovered an ancient artificial structure at the galactic core 3 years ago. They believe it was built by a species that vanished millions of years ago. What kind of structure? A cluster of artificial black holes, arranged in a specific pattern. They're slowly warping space-time in that region. The Moravians think it's some kind of weapon or power source, but they don't fully understand it. Taewoo felt a chill run down his spine, and they kept this secret from the rest of the Council. Until recently, yes. They only revealed it after several Council races threatened to break away in protest of Earth's containment. The Moravians used the discovery to justify their actions, claiming they needed to protect advanced technologies from falling into unpredictable hands, meaning yours. So they're not just afraid of our quantum technology, said Taewoo. They're afraid we might solve their ancient mystery before they do. Krell's feathers rippled again. Precisely. The Moravians have studied the black hole cluster for 3 years with little progress. They fear humans, with their, how do you say it, out-of-box thinking. Outside-the-box thinking, corrected Taewoo with a smile. Yes, that. They fear humans might understand the technology faster than they can, and that would undermine their position as the most advanced species in the Council. Taewoo sat back, his mind racing. Krell, I need to ask you something important. Are there others in the Council who feel as you do, who disagree with Earth's containment? Many, said Krell without hesitation. The Phasians, of course, the Durrani, the Vex Collective, even some of the Tralcor, though they won't say so publicly. We have all had good relations with humans. Would you help us if we found a way to break the quarantine peacefully, not to attack, but to address this galactic core threat? Would you stand with us? Krell was silent for a long moment. It would mean defying the Council, possibly being expelled ourselves. I know it's a lot to ask, said Taewoo quietly. The Phasian's bright eyes blinked slowly. The Moravians are leading us down a dangerous path, Taewoo. Their fear and secrecy will not solve the galactic core problem. Your species thinks differently. Perhaps that is exactly what is needed now. Krell straightened, feathers smoothing with resolve. Yes, the Phasians will stand with you, and I believe others will too when the time comes. The next day, Jiho stood before the quantum displacement portal in a specially designed suit. A team of doctors had run tests on him all morning, establishing baseline readings for every bodily function. Dr. Subin Lee checked his suit connections one last time. Her hands trembled slightly. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "We could wait, run more tests with inanimate objects." "We don't have time," said Jiho. "The longer we stay contained, the harder it will be to change things." Subin nodded and stepped back. "The test is simple. You'll step through the portal and emerge 200 meters away, in the sealed chamber we've prepared. The displacement effect should allow you to bypass normal space, as if you're taking the shortcut through quantum dimensions. And if it works with humans, we can start building larger portals for ships," said Jiho. "Exactly, but one step at a time." From a nearby console, Lieutenant Doyan watched nervously. "Sir, are you absolutely sure about this?" Jiho gave him a confident smile. "Sometimes a commander has to lead from the front, Lieutenant." The portal hummed to life, energy building in the metal ring until a shimmering blue field filled the center. It looked like water standing on its side, rippling gently with unseen currents. Portal stabilized, called out a technician. Quantum field integrity at 100%. Subin moved to her control station. "Ready when you are, Commander." Jiho took a deep breath and gave a thumbs up to the room. Then he stepped forward into the blue light. The sensation was unlike anything he had ever felt. For a timeless moment, he existed everywhere and nowhere. His body dissolved into patterns of information, dancing through dimensions he couldn't comprehend. He was aware, but not physical. Present, but not located. And then, with a rush of sensation, he was whole again. Solid. Real. Jiho stumbled slightly as his feet touched the floor of a different chamber. The transition had taken less than a second, but it felt like both an eternity and no time at all. A screen on the wall lit up, showing Subin's anxious face. "Commander Park, can you hear me?" "I'm here," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "It worked. I'm in the target chamber." Cheers erupted from the speakers. Subin's face broke into a wide smile, and tears glistened in her eyes. "How do you feel?" she asked. Jiho ran a self-diagnostic on his suit. All readings normal. "I feel fine. Different, but fine." "Different how?" Subin leaned closer to the screen, suddenly concerned. "It's hard to explain," said Jiho slowly. "Like, I've seen something I wasn't meant to see. Something bigger than our universe." He shook his head. "But it doesn't matter. What matters is that it worked. We can pass through the quarantine field." Subin nodded, her scientist's curiosity obviously wanting to ask more questions, but she focused on the victory at hand. "Yes, we'll run more tests, of course, but this proves the concept. We can start planning the next phase. How long until we can transport a ship?" 3 months, maybe less. We've already designed a larger portal framework that can be assembled in orbit. Jiho smiled. "Tell President Kang, and contact Taewoo Kang as well. If we can break the quarantine, we need to know exactly what we're facing out there." As the screen went dark, Jiho looked down at his hands. They looked the same, but something had changed. In that brief journey through quantum space, he had glimpsed something profound. Not just a way around the quarantine field, but perhaps a new understanding of reality itself. The aliens had imprisoned humanity because they feared what humans might discover. They had no idea what they had just forced humans to learn. 1 year after the quarantine began, the vast shipyard hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon buzzed with activity. 50 ships floated in the vacuum, each being fitted with the quantum displacement drives that Dr. Subin Lee had perfected. These weren't warships. They were smaller, faster vessels designed for stealth and speed. Commander Geo Park stood on the observation deck of the command center, watching the final preparations. The last 3 months had transformed him. Since his journey through the quantum portal, he found he could think more clearly, see connections that others missed. The doctors couldn't explain it, but the brief exposure to quantum space had changed something in his brain. "Fleet status report, Lieutenant," he said as Do-Yun joined him at the window. "All 50 ships at 100% readiness, sir," reported Do-Yun proudly. "Crews are boarded and final checks are underway. Dr. Lee has personally inspected each quantum drive. And our cargo. The quantum relay devices are loaded and secured. 5,000 units, as planned." Jiho nodded with satisfaction. What the council races didn't understand, what the Moravians especially didn't grasp, was that containing humans only forced them to become more creative. Without the option to expand outward, humanity had turned its innovative energy inward. In a single year of containment, Earth had made technological leaps that might have taken decades otherwise. The quantum displacement technology was just the beginning. The door slid open, and Tae-Woo Kang entered, followed by Dr. Subin Lee. Both looked tired but determined. "Our alien allies are in position," said Tae-Woo. 7 species have secretly pledged support. They'll move as soon as we make our broadcast. "And the Moravians?" asked Jiho. Tae-Woo's expression grew serious. "Still guarding the galactic core region heavily. They've told the council that they're studying the ancient technology, but according to our sources, they're actually trying to weaponize it." "Of course they are," said Subin with disgust. "The same people who called us violent are turning an astronomical wonder into a weapon." Jiho turned to Subin. "Is the Defiance ready?" She nodded. "Yes. As your flagship, it has our most advanced quantum systems. But, Commander," she hesitated, "the displacement effect on living tissue is still not fully understood. You've experienced it once. Multiple jumps might have unpredictable effects." "We've all accepted the risks," said Jiho calmly. "What about the communication network?" "Ready," said Subin. "Once we place the relays, we can bypass all council communication systems. They won't be able to block or trace our broadcast." Jiho looked at each of them. These 2 brilliant minds had become his closest friends during the long months of planning. Tae-Woo with his diplomatic genius and network of alien allies. Subin with her revolutionary scientific breakthroughs. "Tomorrow, we change everything," said Jiho. "Get some rest. We leave at 600. The EDF Defiance hung in space, just inside the shimmering barrier of the quarantine field. From the command chair, Jiho watched the final countdown on the main screen. Around him, the bridge crew worked with focused precision. Subin sat at the science station, monitoring the quantum drive. Field integrity stable at 100%. Displacement matrix aligned. "We're ready, Commander." "All ships report ready, sir," added Do-Yun from Tactical. Jiho opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Commander Park. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be contained. Today we fight not with weapons, but with truth. Remember your training. Remember your missions. Good luck to you all." He closed the channel and nodded to the helm officer. "Activate quantum displacement drive." The ship hummed as energy built around them. On the view screen, the quarantine field glowed brighter as they approached. "Displacement in 3, 2, 1, counted Subin. The world shifted. Like his experience in the test portal, but magnified 100 times, Jiho felt his consciousness expand beyond normal space. For a breathtaking moment, he could sense the entire fleet, 50 ships and their crews, all connected in the quantum state. And then reality snapped back. The view screen showed open space. Stars shone all around them. The quarantine field was behind them. "We're through," shouted Do-Yun, unable to contain his excitement. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Jiho raised a hand for silence. Status of the fleet. Do-Yun checked his console. All 50 ships accounted for. Sir, perfect displacement. We're scattered across council space as planned. No sign of detection yet, reported the sensor officer. The Moravian monitoring stations show no alert status. Jiho turned to Subin. You did it, Doctor. We're free. She smiled, though her hands trembled slightly from the strain. We're only beginning, Commander. Now the real work starts. Right, said Jiho, becoming serious again. Deploy to your assigned sectors. Begin relay placement immediately. We meet at the rendezvous point in 12 hours. The quantum relay was small, barely the size of Jiho's hand. He watched through the Defiance's view screen as the device activated, a tiny light blinking green to show it was operational. This was the 500th relay his ship had placed in the last 10 hours. Across council space, the other 49 ships were doing the same. That's the last one for our sector, said Do-Yun. Network integrity. Subin checked her readings. Perfect. The quantum entanglement links are stable. We now have coverage of 92% of council space. Jiho nodded with satisfaction. Set course for the rendezvous point. Maximum speed. The Defiance streaked through space, its conventional engines now engaged. They didn't need the quantum drive again until it was time to return to Earth, if they returned. At the rendezvous point, a seemingly empty sector of space far from any major worlds, the human fleet gradually assembled. Ship after ship arrived, each reporting successful completion of its mission. The vast network of quantum relays was now in place, invisible to conventional sensors, creating a web of instantaneous communication that spanned the galaxy. On the Defiance's bridge, Taewoo Kang prepared the message that would change everything. He had worked on it for months, choosing every word carefully. It wasn't just a message to the council races. It was humanity's statement to the galaxy. All ships present and accounted for, Commander, reported Do-Yun. No casualties. No detections. Network status. Joe asked Subin. 100% operational. Ready to broadcast whenever you give the word. Jiho turned to Taewoo. It's time. Taewoo nodded and moved to the communication station. The message was already loaded, along with all the evidence they had gathered. The truth about the Moravians' discoveries at the galactic core, their attempts to monopolize the response, and their fear of human ingenuity. Broadcasting now, said Taewoo, and pressed the control. Through the quantum relay network, the message and all its supporting data flowed instantly to every corner of council space. It couldn't be blocked. It couldn't be traced. Every communication device, every data terminal, every news feed, all simultaneously received the same information. Jiho watched on the view screen as the broadcast began with Taewoo's calm, dignified face. To all sentient beings of the galactic community, I am Taewoo Kang, former ambassador of Earth, to the Galactic Council. 1 year ago, humanity was declared dangerous and contained within our home system. Today, we break that containment not as conquerors, but as messengers. The broadcast continued, presenting evidence piece by piece. The ancient structure at the galactic core, the Moravians' secret studies, their decision to hide the discovery from most council members until forced to reveal it, their fear that humans might solve the problem first. We didn't come to fight, Taewoo's message concluded. We came to solve a problem that threatens us all. The Moravians chose isolation. We choose cooperation. Even now, our ships are appearing near your homeworlds, not as invaders, but as emissaries of truth. Hear them. Then decide for yourselves if humanity deserves to be caged, or if we all deserve a new beginning. As the broadcast ended, Jiho gave the final order. All ships, execute Phase 3. Quantum jump to target worlds. Once again, the strange sensation of quantum displacement washed over him, stronger than before. This time, Jiho didn't fight it. He let his consciousness expand, feeling the connections between all things. In the quantum state, he sensed something vast and ancient watching from the galactic core, the mysterious technology They sought to understand. The Defiance rematerialized in orbit around Moravus, the homeworld of the Moravians themselves. 6 other human ships appeared alongside them, a tiny fleet facing the massive Moravian defense platforms that surrounded the crystalline planet. Instantly, alarms blared on the bridge. "Moravian defense grid activating," shouted Doyun. "Weapons systems powering up." "Hold position," ordered Jiho calmly. "Make no aggressive moves. Open a channel." The view screen flickered, showing the stern face of a Moravian high commander. The crystalline being's faceted eyes flashed with anger. "Human vessels," the Moravian said, "you have violated containment. You will be destroyed." "Before you fire," said Jiho, "you should know that similar scenes are playing out at every Council homeworld right now. Human ships have appeared simultaneously throughout the galaxy, and everyone is watching." He gestured to Subin, who pressed a control. A secondary screen showed public gathering places on Moravus, where huge crowds of Moravians were watching Tewu's broadcast on giant displays. "Your deception is exposed," continued Jiho. "The Council knows what you found at the galactic core. They know why you really contained us, and now they're waiting to see what you'll do. Will you destroy unarmed messengers while the galaxy watches, or will you finally admit you need help with the ancient technology you can't understand?" The Moravian commander's crystalline features hardened, light reflecting from his angular face. For a tense moment, Jiho thought he would order his weapons to fire anyway. Then another Moravian appeared beside the commander. This one wore the distinctive robes of the Moravian Science Council. They spoke quietly together in their own language. Finally, the commander turned back to the screen. "You have taken a great risk coming here, human. But perhaps it is time for a different approach." Jiho felt a wave of relief wash over him, though he kept his expression neutral. "We aren't here to shame you or take credit for discoveries. We're here because the galactic core mystery affects all of us. It requires all of our combined knowledge to solve." The Moravian scientist moved forward. "I am Chief Researcher Valer. You speak of cooperation. What exactly do you propose?" Jiho nodded to Subin, who sent a data package through the open channel. "Our preliminary analysis of the ancient black hole cluster based on the limited data we could access. Our scientists have a theory about its purpose that your researchers may not have considered." The Moravians studied the data, their crystalline eyes widening. This changes everything," whispered the scientist. "You've seen it as a communication device, not a weapon." "We think it was built to contact other galaxies," said Subin, speaking for the first time. "The space-time distortion isn't a side effect, it's the purpose." Across the galaxy, on 23 other worlds, similar conversations were taking place. Human ships hovering peacefully before shocked alien defenders, evidence being shared, new possibilities being discussed. The galaxy had outlawed humanity. Now humanity had answered not with weapons, but with truth and an outstretched hand. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council on Centauri Prime buzzed with tension. Representatives from all 24 member species sat in rising tiers around the central speaking floor. For the first time in the Council's 5,000-year history, the chamber was filled to capacity. No one wanted to miss this historic session. Commander Geo Park stood at the entrance with Dr. Subin Lee and Tewu Kang beside him. 1 week had passed since their bold mission. 1 week of frantic diplomacy, heated debates, and rapidly shifting alliances across the galaxy. "Ready?" asked Tewu, straightening his formal diplomatic uniform. Jiho nodded. The 3 of them had been chosen to represent Earth in these proceedings. President Kang had wanted to come herself, but security concerns kept her on Earth. The quarantine field around Sol system had been deactivated 3 days ago, but tensions remained high. "As ready as I'll ever be," said Jiho. The effects of multiple quantum displacements had left him changed. He could see patterns more clearly now, connections between events that others missed. The doctors called it quantum consciousness, a side effect they still didn't fully understand. Subin touched his arm gently. Remember, no matter what happens in there, we've already won. Humanity is free. The massive doors swung open. A Phasian attendant with bright orange feathers bowed to them. The council will receive the Earth delegation now, the bird-like alien announced. They walked into the chamber together. The room fell silent as they crossed the polished floor to the central position. Geo kept his eyes straight ahead, but he could feel the stares of hundreds of alien representatives. In the highest tier sat the 7 Moravian elders, their crystalline bodies catching the light. Their expressions were unreadable, but Geo sensed their discomfort. Next to them were the representatives of the other founding species of the council, the Phasians, the Durrani, and the Tralcor. The head of the council, a Durrani named Sover, rose from his seat. His tall, slender form and gray skin gave him a solemn appearance. "Representatives of Earth," he said, his voice carried by the chamber's perfect acoustics, "you stand before this council having violated the containment decree. Yet you also stand here having revealed truths that have shaken the very foundation of our alliance." He gestured to the empty seats of the council table. "For the first time in 5,000 years, we begin this session with vacant chairs. The Vex Collective, the Phasians, and the Krell have formally withdrawn from the council in protest of Earth's treatment." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Geo had known about the Phasians leaving. Ambassador Krell had been instrumental in their plan, but not the others. Their withdrawal was a powerful statement. "We face a divided galaxy," continued Sover, "and a threat at our core that can no longer be ignored or monopolized." He looked directly at the Moravian elders as he said this. The oldest Moravian elder, Christos, rose slowly. His faceted body glinted as he moved to address the council. "For 3,000 years, the Moravian Collective has led this council in matters of science and discovery," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "We believed it was our duty to protect the galaxy from dangerous technologies and species." He paused, his crystalline eyes scanning the chamber. "We were wrong." A gasp rippled through the audience. The Moravians never admitted error. "The humans have shown us something we had forgotten," Christos continued. "Fresh perspectives have value. Different ways of thinking can find solutions where established methods fail. In our fear of the unknown and our pride in our ancient knowledge, we became the very thing we claimed to protect against, a force of obstruction rather than progress." Geo felt Subin tense beside him. This was more than they had hoped for, a full acknowledgement from the Moravians themselves. Christos turned to face the human delegation directly. "The containment of Earth was a mistake born of fear and arrogance. On behalf of the Moravian Collective, I formally apologize." Tehu stepped forward, his diplomatic training evident in his measured response. "The people of Earth accept your apology, Elder Christos. We came here not seeking blame but partnership. The ancient structure at the galactic core affects us all." Sover nodded approvingly. "This brings us to the central question before the Council today: the future of galactic governance and the response to the core anomaly. Earth delegation, you have been invited to present your proposal." This was the moment they had prepared for. Geo stepped back, allowing Subin to take the center position. The scientific breakthrough was hers, and she deserved to present it. Subin activated a holographic display that appeared above the central floor. It showed the cluster of artificial black holes at the galactic core, rotating slowly for all to see. "Honorable representatives," Subin began, her voice clear and confident, "what the Moravians discovered is neither a weapon nor a power source. Our analysis indicates it is a communication device of unprecedented scale, built by an ancient species we now call the Architects." The display zoomed in, showing the intricate patterns of the black hole arrangement. "The space-time distortions are not a malfunction. They are deliberate, a method of generating quantum entanglement effects that span not just our galaxy, but potentially reach to other galaxies millions of light-years away." She manipulated the display, showing mathematical models that supported her theory. Though the equations were complex, She explained them in simple terms that even non-scientists could follow. In essence, the architects created a galaxy-wide quantum telephone. But its power requirements are enormous. It's been dormant for millions of years, slowly gathering energy from the galactic core. Our calculations suggest it's nearly ready to activate. A Tralcor representative interrupted. Ready to activate. To do what? To call someone, said Subin simply, or to receive a call. We don't know which, but we believe this may be part of a network that spans multiple galaxies, a way for advanced civilizations to communicate across intergalactic distances. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. Who had built such a device? Were they still out there, waiting for a connection? After allowing the discussion to continue for several minutes, Sover called for order. Dr. Lee, what do you propose we do about this discovery? Subin gestured to Jiho and Taewoo to join her. We propose a new approach to galactic cooperation, not a council where some species dictate to others, but a confederation where all contribute according to their strengths. Taewoo stepped forward. The Galactic Confederation would have no permanent leaders. Instead, leadership would rotate. Decisions would require consensus, not mere majority rule, and all technologies and discoveries would be shared openly, not hoarded by any single species. And the core anomaly? Asked a Phasian representative. A joint mission, said Geo, speaking for the first time. Scientists and explorers from all willing species working together to understand the architect's device before it activates on its own. Humanity offers our quantum displacement technology to help reach the core safely. The Moravians offer their advanced materials science. The Phasians their biotechnology. Each species contributing what they do best. Elder Christos studied them with new respect. You do not seek to claim the discovery for yourselves. What would be the point? Asked Jiho. If this truly is a communication device reaching to other galaxies, it affects us all. Whatever comes next should be faced together, not separately. Sover looked around the chamber. The proposal before us is to dissolve the current Galactic Council and form a new Galactic Confederation with equal standing for all member species, and to launch a joint mission to the galactic core. We will now vote. One by one, the representatives cast their votes. Some were enthusiastic, others reluctant. The Moravians hesitated longest, their ancient pride difficult to set aside. But in the end, even they voted in favor. The motion passes, announced Sover. The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved. In its place, the Galactic Confederation is established, and our first joint action will be the core mission. 3 months later, Geo stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now redesignated as GCS Unity, Galactic Confederation Ship Unity. The massive vessel had been refitted with technology from a dozen different species, making it the most advanced ship ever built. Dr. Subin Lee worked at her science station, coordinating with a team that included Moravian, Phasian, Durrani, and Tralcor scientists. The easy cooperation between them would have been unthinkable just months ago. On the diplomatic deck, Taewoo Kang led preparations for possible first contact protocols. If the black hole cluster truly was a communication device, they needed to be ready for whoever might answer. Final checks complete, reported Doyun, now a full commander himself. All systems ready for quantum jump to the galactic core. Jiho nodded and opened a channel to the fleet of 30 ships that accompanied them, vessels from every Confederation member who had chosen to join the mission. This is Commander Park of the Unity. 1 year ago, humanity stood alone, imprisoned in our home system. Today, we lead a mission that represents the best of all our civilizations. Whatever awaits us at the galactic core, we face it together. He closed the channel and gave the order. Activate quantum displacement drive. The fleet vanished from normal space, jumping toward the heart of the galaxy, where the architect's ancient device waited. As the quantum state washed over him, Jiho embraced the expanded consciousness it brought. For a brief, transcendent moment, he sensed the vastness of the universe and the countless forms of life it contained. The fleet reappeared near the black hole cluster. The massive construct hung before them, awesome in its complexity. Black holes arranged in precise patterns, connected by streams of energy that defied conventional physics. As they watched, the cluster began to pulse with new energy. Sensors across the fleet recorded a surge in quantum activity. It's activating, called Subin. It's detected our presence. A beam of light erupted from the center of the cluster, expanding outward to form a spherical field that enveloped the entire fleet. Inside the field, space itself seemed to shift and change. "What's happening?" asked Do-hyun nervously. Ji-ho felt a strange calm. Somehow he understood. It's not attacking us. It's connecting us. The view screen filled with a new kind of light, patterns that seemed to speak directly to their minds. Not language, but pure concepts transmitted through the quantum field. "It's a message," whispered Subin in awe. "The first message from beyond our galaxy." Ji-ho looked around at the bridge crew, humans and aliens working side by side. The feared and outlawed species now at the forefront of the greatest discovery in galactic history. The galaxy had outlawed humanity because they feared what humans might become. They never imagined that humanity's response would be to help forge a better galaxy for everyone.